Hi there, welcome to What and Series 15 and number 5. We're going to be talking about how Isaac trusts God and receives God's goodness. This is from Genesis 26 and we start at verse 12. Well, when we look at it, Isaac learned a lesson from the outcome of his lie that we looked at in the previous The lesson that he learned was that he needed to trust God and not fear. The Lord had promised to be with him, and Isaac now puts his trust in God. And really what happens in this next chapter is God blesses him abundantly. We are told that Isaac sowed in the land, and Isaac was still living in Gerar, and he apparently has leased some land and he put plants in it. And we're told he reaped 100-fold that year, if you want to look at that in the passage. Up until now, Isaac has been a rancher and a sheep herder. And here we read he tried something new and God blesses it. A commentator that I was looking at puts it this way: God gives them incredible success in their new business, wealth beyond expectation, an astounding yield per acre, an unbelievable return for their investment. They reaped 100-fold. That's way beyond an average return. 100-fold is kind of like the epitome of blessing. The word reaped in the Hebrew language carries the idea of a surprise discovery, something way beyond the normal. The account goes on and tells us that the Lord blessed Isaac and he became rich and continued to grow richer until he became very wealthy. This word wealthy means more than just well off, but also carries the idea that not only did he become rich, but he was also extremely powerful. God blessed his flocks and the herds, and they increased. And Isaac had to hire more servants to work for him. And if he was anything like his fathers, those servants were trained in battle. If you remember, Abraham had 300 trained servants that he armed and he sent out to battle with his nephew Lot when his nephew Lot was taken captive. Isaac becomes a force to be reckoned with. And the Philistines in Gerar and the surrounding area become envious of this foreigner. They do not like the fact that Isaac is becoming rich and powerful, but in their land. Yeah. The end result is, of course, that the Philistines want him to leave. Earlier in Genesis, we're reminded that Abram had dug a number of wells in that particular area, and Isaac was using them to water his flocks and herds and irrigate some of his crops. And the envious Philistines, well, they filled them up with dirt to stop them so they can't be used. This seems a bit petty and a bit nasty when he'd leased the land, but they sought to make it impossible for Isaac and his household to live among them. They removed the precious commodity that they needed to survive, water. I can imagine the tension in Gerar was starting to rise, and Isaac was not the foreigner he was when he arrived. Abimelech begins to see that if something is not done quickly, then tension between Isaac and the inhabitants of Gerar might erupt into violence. And Isaac is now so powerful that he could end up coming on top. So Abimelech goes to Isaac and tells him he's no longer welcome to live there. Move away from us because you have become too powerful. Wow. Or literally, you have become much mightier than us. That's what the passage says. Isaac doesn't have to take this. He could have fought for his rights, so to speak, and most likely he would have beaten down the opposition. Yeah, he could have exerted his will on the situation. But remember, here we see Isaac is trusting God, and he chooses peace because he knows that God is with him and God's goodness is certain. Isn't it such a different Isaac than we saw even a chapter ago? So Isaac moves out of the city and into the valley of Gerar, about 15 miles away. He opens up some of the wells that he had dug, that had actually been dug by his dad, and he gives the wells the same names that his father had, thus laying claim on them. Isaac, by doing this, shows his confidence in God's goodness, that God will continue to be with them and provide for them and bless them, and God does. As the family continues to prosper in this new location, they need even more water. And so we are told that the servants of Isaac dig a well in the valley, and they find a huge underground reservoir or a spring. It is a well of flowing water. In the valley where other herdsmen from Gerar are, and Isaac's servants have dug this well, the Philistines claim it and said it is their water. Isaac named the well Esek, which means contention, because the herdsmen of Gerar contended or quarrelled with Isaac's servants over the well. Isaac just leaves it to them. His servants dug again in the valley and discovered another well of water. And the herdsmen again quarrelled about it and claimed it as their own. It looks to me like Isaac's guys are doing all the work and they want to take it. Isaac names this well Sitnah, which means strife and enmity. Again, he left the well to the Philistines, still trusting God to provide. He moved further away from the herdsmen of Gerar, and his servants dug yet another well and found water, and no one quarrelled over it this time. Maybe it was too far for them to go. Isaac named it Rehoboth, which means broad places. And Isaac said that the Lord provided them with broad places to live, and they would continue to prosper. It appears that everywhere that Isaac went, God provided water for him, showing him amazing goodness and guidance. Water was so incredibly important. And Isaac continued to grow wealthier and more powerful, and soon he had to move again. And we are told he left the Philistine area and went to Beersheba and settled there. That very night that he arrived there, the Lord appeared to him. It was as if the Lord was watching to see if Isaac would trust him and finally put the Philistines behind him. That's what he did. The Lord appears to him. We're going to talk about that next week.